For like every time we get a news tip from a viewer or something like that. I don't know if there's a percentage. I don't, because it goes through a vetting process. So you met John earlier at the news desk. Whoever's at the news desk might get a tip. Hey, this is happening. So if the first question we ask is that newsworthy? You know, if there's a cat up a tree, is that newsworthy? But if there's a missing 4-year-old kid, you know, there's obviously a large difference between those two things.
Need what the cat needs, what he needs to bring down.
You know, like the cat's gonna probably get down one way or another if we cover it or not. That 4-year-old kid might not be found if we don't cover it. There's another way to view that situation too. So then once you hear that or you see the photo, you then figure out, okay, who can tell me, what authority can tell me what is going on here? We get a tip that, you know, let's use that we get a tip that there was a car crash, and in the car crash was a member of the Eagles. So we would call the Eagles. Hey, we heard one of your, you know, that so and so from your team was in a car crash, and they can say, you haven't heard of that? They can say, hey, we're working on details for it. They're working on details, and they're not denying it. They're not saying it is the case, but they're not saying it isn't the case. So then you know, there probably is something to that. So then you say, okay, do we have any pictures? Can we match the picture of the scene? Can you do all these things? So that's kind of like what is quintessentially the news gathering process. And for, you know, every time someone sends a tip that we go with, there's probably 10 tips, 20 tips, whatever it is that we don't. And that doesn't mean that they aren't newsworthy or things like that. It might mean it's something we can't prove. It might mean it's something we can't get confirmation on. It might mean that there's something where it's older, you know, and it doesn't meet urgency standards. So there's a lot of reasons why something might not get covered or something might get covered. But what's important is that when you do a story based off of a tip or based off of a viewer photo or video, that you mention that, and that's part of the story, because then that lets the people who watch your news and consume your news know that you're listening to them, know that you're sitting there and responding to them. Like we have a segment called NBC 10 Responds with Harry Hairstommer. He helps people who have consumer problems with different companies and things like that. I'm sure that they get more tips than every single one they can put on air, you know? But for the ones that they do, they're showing, hey, we're listening to you, we're trying for you, we're doing the best we can. There's no way you can make everyone happy. It's not possible. But you just try to do the best you can and to cover the important things.
Like like it's like when we get the reporters out, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they like when they like a ghetto place, why they always get like the most unintelligent black person they can to like speak?
He really wants to ask that one.
Well, part of it is people have to be willing to speak. You know, when a camera comes out, a lot of people, instead of going toward the camera, turn away from it. They don't want to be on TV. They don't want to be here. They don't want to be there. And that's not, you know, that's nothing to do with socioeconomics. Has nothing to do with race. Has nothing to do with that. It's just a natural tendency is for people to be more private. So if it's a private citizen, they have a right to be that. Now, if this is someone who's like a public official who stole money from taxpayers or something, they don't have a right to hide from the camera forever. But there's all sorts of reasons, and there's also laws. We can't just walk into someone's house with a camera without their permission. We can't just go and we just can't do things like that. And there's certain protocol too that you just follow. Like, you're not going to show necessarily a child whose parent was the victim of a crime crying, because that might not be the right way to tell that story. So there's all sorts of reasons, and a lot of it does come down to people, not everyone wants to talk. Not everyone's out there. You know, something happens at 3 a.m, most people are sleeping. You know, you might only have the one guy who happens to be there. So it is difficult. And, you know, if you ask the police officer the same thing, they're always like, yeah, I wish we had more witnesses. Or if you ask, you know, anyone, there's always that difficulty, and not everyone wants to always let people know their opinion on something.
What do you think would be the reaction
Kenneth,
to this story?
Kenneth, my